Well, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm so excited to see all you in this room. It's almost a packed room. That is exciting because this is an important topic. And we also are going to have people that are going to be joining us by Zoom. So we're going to have a full house in the building and outside the building. And my name is Tanya McClary, and I'm the Executive Director for the Citizens Police Oversight Commission. Give CPOC a hand. And I am so excited to be here because the people that are coming forward today are going to be like the 1-2 punch. I always tell people, I don't know how much people really know about oversight of police, but it's such an important function. And I think that many people didn't realize how important it was till we had a moment like George Floyd. And then people started saying, what's going on? Are there people that need to be overseeing the police? But we've actually had oversight in some kind of form, even though there were gaps since 1958 in this city. So we've always been on the cutting edge of this. It's evolved over time. But this commission that you have today, CPOC, is the most powerful that has ever been in the city of Philly. And one of the reasons we have that is because of legislation that was penned and put forward by someone you will hear very shortly, and our council member, Curtis Jones Jr. Can we give him a hand? And he is going to come forward and let you know why it was so important for him to champion this piece of legislation, even though, like I said, we've had oversight since the 50s. The one thing I like to tell people about oversight is if you go from city to city in this country, they all look different. There are some places that only have an office like mine. There are some places that only have a commission. But in Philly, y'all got both. So I say we got like the 1-2 punch, you know what I'm saying? So we have some of the most powerful team of people assembled. And the people that are here today are hoping to join that team. The commission for CPOC is normally 9 people. And so we are so excited that if council approves these names, that we will be able to just get running and going, because the 4 commissioners that we have currently have been doing a whole lot of work. And so I'll give them a hand. And I'm going to introduce them in just a moment. But I want to also let people know what is our mission. So the Citizens Police Oversight Commission, we oversee and investigate conduct of the police. We look at their policies, we make policy recommendations, and we do all kinds of things to make sure we even audit and monitor functions. And one of the most important is community outreach. Because when I talk to my colleagues around the country, a lot of times oversight agencies don't succeed because people don't know who we are. I was just in an event last week at a table of people that were like, we didn't even know we had police oversight. And so our outreach and constituent services division is so crucial. But let me also put in a shameless plug about the ability to do independent investigations. I think if no one has to ask themselves, why should an oversight agency be able to do independent investigations? The reason we exist is because the police shouldn't be policing themselves. And so one of the things that over 500,000 people in this city voted for was for CPOC to have independent investigations. So we need your support to make that happen. So we need you to be calling your council people. We need you to be calling the mayor to say that we want you all to help CPOC get independent investigations. And the time is now, because the Fraternal Order Police and the city are starting to negotiate a new contract. And so this is the time for CPOC to be front and center in the discussions around that contract and our ability to do independent investigations. So we want to make sure that you are out there advocating and lobbying on our behalf to the people that can make it happen. To say, please get in that room and advocate on our behalf. Because we want independent investigations of police misconduct here in the city of Philadelphia, and we want it done by CPOC.
Amen.
Now, one of the things I should tell you is that I'm also a pastor. We have churches down in South Philly, so if I slip into an amen, you'll understand, okay, she went in the pastor. All right, shameless plug, Calvary AME Church, 604 Dickinson. 11 a.m. on Sunday. Come on and visit. So I found myself being like, amen. People are like, oh, what's going on? So tonight we have come for this important work. And so what I want to do is I want to introduce the selection panel. So CPOC was honored to serve in an administrative function to really help these people bring forward these phenomenal candidates that you will meet tonight. So we didn't select them, we just helped them along because all of these people had full-time jobs or a lot of time in the community, so we just helped put it together. So if they're here, some of the selection panel members had conflicts with tonight, but if I ask you to stand, I want you to, so how it worked is that city council got to nominate 3 people and the mayor's office got to nominate 2. So one of the mayor's appointees is to the selection panel is here tonight. So I'm going to ask if Stanley Crawford can stand. And the other appointee was Anton Moore. And I know Anton, I think he might show up. If he shows up, he's always running around. I think you guys just know that's the name that comes to people. He's always on the news, all the stuff that he's doing with young people. So he's probably just running behind. In terms of city council, their appointees, I'm going to ask if Caroline Stack can stand. And I'm also going to ask if Christina Vega can stand. And the other appointee was Bilal Khayyam, and I think a lot of you know Mr. Khayyam. He's a phenomenal advocate, but he's also a phenomenal artist. So if you know him in either capacity as an artist or an activist, or an archivist, or however you want to say it, he was unable to make it tonight, but he was also, so that was the 5 members of the selection panel. I'm going to introduce our current commissioners right now. Our chair is on the way, and you'll hear from him a little later this evening. But I'm going to ask if Commissioner Melanie DeBose can stand. All right, and Commissioner Hakeem P.A. And Commissioner John Solomon. So I am not going to delay this any further because I know that you want to hear from this person, because I always want to hear from him because he's the reason I have a job. And so it was really important for us, for you all to see the face behind CPOC, the commission, and the office. And so we are so excited that Councilmember Curtis Jones Jr. is here. And I'm going to ask if the councilman can come forward and bring us some remarks.
I'm about ready to pass the plate.
All right.
I'm really excited. I come to you tonight with a spirit of gratitude. A spirit of gratitude for the staff and the board of CPOC for the work that they've done thus far to get us here tonight. I come with a spirit of gratitude for my staff who worked at this, and I actually sat in Elder DeBose, some of the interviews, 12 hours worth of interviews to get to know the potential of these individuals that want to be a part of something that we got started. But I'm gonna take you back. I remember as a young man growing up in Philadelphia driving while black. I remember, long story short, I had a summer job and I bought a hoopty. For those of you who don't know what a hoopty is, it's a beat up car. And it was a little bit legal, it was a little bit not. Some of the stickers might have had inspiration. But I was on my way to pick up my girlfriend and I was never so proud. And I got her and we were on our way, I don't even remember, I think we might have been going to a movie. And I got pulled over. And I was at that time a Muslim in the first resurrection. You might know what it is. But so I was very polite. I'm ultra polite. I'm yes sir, no sir. How may I serve you, sir? Where do you want my hands, right? And the intimidation that I felt, the heat that I felt from that officer, it melted me. It melted my happy spirit. It melted me so much that my friend that was with me could see it in my face being humiliated. Like, if you say, sir, again, say it again, kind of thing. And she had to put her hand on my leg to keep me from, I was literally shaking. And that's when you can be your most vulnerable. Because you're angry, your pride got you working, and it was bad. Now I'm gonna flip to the other side. That I remember being in a situation where I called 911. And things had gotten out of control, and it was councilman down, councilman in distress. And the Philadelphia Police Department came to my rescue, and they conducted themselves perfectly. They conducted themselves that I was proud to say that I also represent them. You see, public safety is different things to different people, but it's one set of rules that we all have to go by. And the purpose of this commission is to establish what those rules are, those rules of conduct, to determine where there is fairness and equity in the process. Why is that important? Because I lived through the night after the Walter Wallace murder, and my city erupted. Started out as a peaceful protest and then went into something else, something darker, something more sinister, something that took on a life of its own. And I remember feeling helpless because people no longer believed in this system. Didn't believe that we could get a fair shake, an honest evaluation. And that is why CPOC is so important. Because when people stop believing that the system is fair and believe that the system is rigged, we are on a path to self-destruction. And what CPOC represents to me, and why we fought so hard for it, is an opportunity to show that the system can work. That the rules for each of us as citizens are the same. So I don't want you to think that I'm all rah-rah and think that my community can do no wrong. I remember, a little aside, I was on the Criminal Justice Reform Committee by City Council, and I went up with a member of the ACLU. I love them. But we're on a panel, we're talking to 20 inmates. Various reasons they were there. And one of them said, one of our visitors said, I don't believe any person should ever be incarcerated. I was like, you're wrong. Because I know I was a hoodoo. I was a card-carrying member of the 54 Burke Street gang. And some of us needed needed some time out. I can assure you of that. So there has to be a balanced perspective and a fairness that happens. And I am proud to be one of the authors of the legislation that created CPOC, not a advisory committee, but oversight.
Yes.
There's a big difference. I will prematurely congratulate those who are seeking to join the members of the board. It's gonna be hard. If I let you talk to the ones that already served, you might not have taken this job on, because it is difficult doing the right thing sometimes. Everybody ain't for the right thing being done. But I will say this in closing, that we had to fight for it in council. And timing is everything in life. When we first raised me and President Darrell Clark said it should stop being an advisory committee, it should start being an oversight committee. And back then, this is a couple of administrations ago, I didn't have 9 votes. Everybody wasn't for this commission. Some people, hid their feelings behind false narratives, and we gave up the vote. But timing is everything. We fought for it. We got $500,000 the first year that we established the commission. And when you don't like something, you can pass it, but you started to death budgetarily. There was a time we had 2 advisors to do thousands of cases. And we had over a year backlog. So by the time somebody actually had the courage to file their paperwork and a complaint, life was life, as my son would say. And they got caught up in that life and no longer wanted to pursue that complaint. Might have got in trouble, things happen. But we are able to say and hold our heads proudly now that we are getting better. We're getting better after tonight. Thank you all for coming out. I'm grateful that you care enough to come out tonight. Thank you.
So I also want to thank CCP for this beautiful place. I encourage you all to partner with them to host events for your organization and community. This is such a beautiful space. They have been so welcoming and so affirming of this event, so we wanted to just give them a shout out. And I also forgot to mention that we have Spanish interpretation, so I need to give this message to myself so that when we're talking, if we can slow down a little. And if anybody needs the interpretation, just let my colleague know, Jody, if you can just raise your hand and we can actually get you headsets. And we're also doing interpretation for those on Zoom as well. And so what I want to just say before I turn it over to the selection panel to take us into the discussion is that when I get a chance to have these audiences, I want to talk a little bit about what oversight is not. This is not anti-police.
That's right.
And so many people say, we would support you, Tanya, we would support your agency, but you're always trying to get the police. It's not about that. Holding somebody accountable is not about being anti them. Making them transparent is not being anti them. And so if you have friends that have kind of wavered and don't know if they want to support CPOC, just tell them that's not what this is about. And what's so funny about this job is that at any given moment, somebody's mad at my office. Because if we say that PPD did a great job and the investigation was good or the shooting was justified, then y'all are like, see, we knew it. We knew y'all were in there with the PPD, you just do the police stuff. And then if I say to Commissioner Bethel, there was a problem with something, there's some issues going on, then I know his department is like, see, we knew it. We knew you were anti-us, Tanya. And so what I try to explain to people is that it's almost like we're kind of supposed to be like the Swiss in a way. We just are like more like a coach. Let me do coach, because obviously this is a big sports town with the Eagles. Yeah. We're just supposed to call it like we see it, right? If they do a good job, we're going to shout that out because I think you all would want to know when your department is doing a great job. But when they're not, we're going to tell them that too. But the good thing about it, when I tell Commissioner Bethel, we don't just say to you, you did a bad job. We say it with suggestions, with some ways about how to get better. Because I don't know about you, but as a member of the city of Philadelphia, you should want 21st century policing. We don't want policing from the 1960s and 70s. You want 21st century policing in this city. And just so you all know where we stand in terms of law enforcement agencies, we're like the 4th in the country. So what happens here has ripple effects to your brothers and sisters across the nation. People look to Philadelphia for leadership in policing and in police oversight. And so I'm going to want to just ask my chair to stand up really quickly. This is Hassan Bennett. He's the chair of the commission. And you're going to hear from him later. But I am now turning it over to the selection panel. And I'm going to ask if Christina Vega can come forward, and she's going to moderate the rest of this program.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
As stated prior, my name is Christina Vega. I am a founder and a president of a nonprofit for domestic violence within our community. On behalf of the selection panel and myself, we welcome you all here. We thank you for coming out tonight. It is great to see such a big, large group and a great turnout. Please know that these were not decisions that were made easily. This was hours of interviews, hours of just deciding who we were going to call for the interviews and then re-interviewing. So it was a long process that we did take seriously. We are excited to introduce our commissioner candidates and give them the opportunity to speak to all of you and for all of you to give them questions. I also want to let everyone know that at 7:12, we're going to take a break for those who are observing Ramadan so that they can break their fast. During that time, we will have sandwiches outside that you will be able to grab quickly. I'm going to begin by introducing our commissioner candidates. I'll have 2 questions that I ask all of them to get them started. I'll ask them to keep their answers to about 2 minutes each. I will keep the time so that the public can also have comments as well. So I will start with our first proposed commissioner, Michelle Enix Kenny. I'll ask that you come forward, please. She is proposed for the 12th district. Our second proposed candidate is Gilberto Gonzalez, proposed for the 26th district. Our third is Latanya Whitehead, proposed for the 24th district. Our fourth is Malika Rahman, proposed for the 8th district. Our final is Jamie Meekins, proposed for the 14th district. Before we begin with the questions, I would like to give Mr. Meekins a moment to have the floor.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank you all for being here. Obviously, you could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here, supporting this effort, supporting this commission. So I thank you all in advance. I want to express my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to serve on this commission. After careful consideration, I decided to step away from this position to prioritize other commitments and ongoing efforts that require my full attention. This is not an easy decision, but I believe it's the right one to ensure I can continue making a meaningful impact where I'm most needed. I remain committed to supporting this commission's important work from outside of the official role of being a commissioner. I would like to sincerely thank Councilman Jones, who's a champion in this work, and we need champions to champion things like this. He's a man's man, and I believe that it takes people like him to create policy and procedures like this. I would like to also thank the selection panel for giving me this amazing opportunity. And I will remain committed to supporting this commission because I believe in the work that they're doing. Thank you all again, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much. A reminder to all of you that I will be keeping time. You have 2 minutes for each question. I will start with you, Ms. Ennis Kenny. The first question is, why did you apply to be a CPOC commissioner?
I applied to be a CPOC commissioner because I believe in truth and transparency as it relates to law enforcement and the community. As someone that values justice and fairness, I saw this as an opportunity to advocate for a system that helped to bridge the gap.
Dr. Michelle, people asking you to speak into the.
I am so sorry. I'm a little bit of a preacher too. I'm used to kind of yelling. So I just see this as an opportunity to advocate and bridge that gap between the community and the law enforcement where everyone feels safe and protected. That was really the crux of it. What was an honor for me is that someone in my community made the recommendation. And a lot of times we don't see in ourselves what other people see, that we're at the grocery store with, or we're at the diner with, but somebody said, Michelle, I think you'd be great for this. No one just living in the block, living in the community. And for that, I'm grateful.
I will ask the same question of Mr. Gonzalez. Why did you apply to be a CPOC commissioner?
So I think my lived experience, born and raised in North Philadelphia, the biggest issue in our community is trust. So I felt this is an opportunity because there are a lot of moving parts to everything. It's all the problems that are happening in the city, And I felt that this would be an opportunity to kind of, again, a lot of moving parts is just one piece to try to deal with how the community and the police interact. I mean, I think that's my most important thing. I think without going too much into it, yes, we need to hold police accountable, but we also need to educate our community. We need to build that trust, and that's what I'm really looking forward to, is how do we build that trust and how do we all work together?
Thank you so much. Ms. Whitehead, same question. Why did you apply to be a CPOC commissioner?
I applied to be a CPOC commissioner because I love the city of Philadelphia.
Closer to the mic.
I love the city of Philadelphia, in which I was born and raised in. I believe what we're doing, and I believe that we need a change for the good. I believe that we need to show up and show out, and being a community member and a leader in the community of Philadelphia and a program director of a prevention agency, I constantly see CPOC in the trenches like myself. And it was just confirmation when I kept on seeing them, and I got the email, and it's like, okay, because they're looking for commissioners. And I said, well, you know what? They're showing up. We did some different events together. You know what? Why not apply to see if I can try to build the positive change that I want to see in the city in which I grew up in. Oftentimes I speak to members of the community, and there isn't a lot of trust. There is lack of trust in policing and the laws and different things like that. And the community feels as though they have no voice. But I tell them, show up. Tell your neighbors, tell your sisters, tell your family members. You can say things to me because you're comfortable with me and you can relate to me maybe, but this is the time to show up. So I'm happy that this is a wonderful crowd. I'm hoping next time it's double the size, because I say if we all show up and get in the trenches and try to make a change, we can make this city better than ever before. So I believe in you. I just hope that you guys give us a chance to try to make a positive difference in the city of Philadelphia, who I know and love. Thank you so much.
Finally, I want to ask I'm going to say Malika, I don't want to be yelled at.
That's fine.
I'm joking. Why did you apply to be a CPOC commissioner?
So there is no secret that I am the only one of us who has former law enforcement experience. Let's get that out there now. But I saw this as an opportunity to bring my knowledge, my training, and my experience to the table to effectuate positive change. For those of you who know me, in 2019, I ran on the pillars of accountability, transparency, and integrity. Not because I thought they were great words, but because it's who I am. And I believe that no matter who you are, no matter what agency you work for, that when you step onto the scene to show up and take the place for people, that you should be held accountable, and that there should be transparency in the process, and that you should do the job with integrity. So if I can help ensure that the policies that govern the people that I lead, that I live with, and that I love are fair, then sign me up.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, our second question. I will start with Mr. Gonzalez so that we're not going back and forth with the same one. How will your professional background and lived experiences help to promote oversight and transparency in policing?
So my lived experience, again, I'm born and raised in North Philadelphia. Growing up, I saw a lot of police abuse. I experienced it as well. So I think my lived experience, and my father was on 17th and Green. We grew up on 17th and Green. As that neighborhood was being gentrified, my father founded the Comité del Pueblo, which fought to save housing for people of color in that community. But we lost the battle. But my father instilled in me that we need to fight for our people. So my whole life, if you Google me, you'll see I have worked with so many people throughout the city to try to lift our people up, in particular in education. Just to give you, I work here at community college. In the past 3-4 years, I've been under special assignment to increase the Latino population because it was almost zero. So right now, we are the second largest population at community college. These kids are coming in from North Philadelphia, Kensington, South Philly. That's where we're gonna make the difference. And that's so my lived experience and my educational background. I taught at the police academy years ago. That was my first job out of college, was teaching Latino history at the police academy. So again, just connecting the dots. And I really hope that to contribute to this. And these people are amazing. The ones I've spoken to, they're incredible.
Thank you so much. Ms. Anna Kenny, the same question. How will your professional background and lived experiences help to promote oversight and transparency in policing?
At the core of the very essence of who I am is HBCU. I've worked for Black Enterprise Magazine, I've worked for Black Entertainment Television, and all of these organizations are about the pulse and the press. I have a BS in psychology, a BA in sociology, so aligning the strategic leadership of life and how we move through corporations is at the core. I can't say it any clearly. I cut my teeth on the grounds of Amadou Diallo. I'm a native New Yorker, and we were just all the way down through Tawana Brawley. I know that's going way back there, but this is where it all began for me. And again, just going to a HBCU Tuskegee, you don't get away with not being able to make an impact when you rest on the shoulders of people that are great. My mother always taught me, Michelle, learn early how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So you can read the rest of my bio, but I'm here to live it out with you, walk it out with you. Philadelphia is an amazing place, and I'm just so honored to have the opportunity to bring all that I have come to this place and moment.
Thank you so much. Same question for Ms. Brachman. Say it right this time.
So my professional experience and my lived experience. To say the least, this is what I do. I live this every day. When I decided to join the law enforcement community, nobody else in my family had done that. When I became a professor at the Community College of Philadelphia, where I was also a student, nobody else in my family had done that. So to have an opportunity to bring all of me to the table,
my training, my life, my story, my very essence of womanhood, and say that I can use all of me to make somebody else's life better, how could I not, right? Shirley Chisholm said it best. Service is the rent we pay to live on earth. How dare you not serve when you have a chance to? How dare you not step into the room when you have the power to make change? How dare you not use your presence to show up for people who cannot show up for themselves? So you ask me, how can I bring my professional and my lived experience? I show up in it every day. When I'm here, it comes with me. When I step into a room, my story is on my shoulders. So when you see me, you see Gwendolyn Johnson, you see Annie Ruth Mobley, you see Leola Everett, you see Charlotte Boyd, and you see Jamal Rockman. I am the people I love. And when I come, the story that they lived comes with me too.
Finally, Ms. White had the same question. How will your professional background and lived experiences help to promote oversight and transparency in policing?
My professional background as a program director of a drug and alcohol prevention agency in Philadelphia and being a lifelong resident, I'm always showing up. Okay, a lot of times we have a small staff. I don't send my staff. I am boots on the ground. When I mean to tell you I am in the trenches, I am the trenches. Okay, I show up. I communicate with the community. I live in the Port Richmond section of Philadelphia now, but I've lived in various parts of Philadelphia. I lived in West Philadelphia, South Philadelphia. I've lived all around, and I've communicated with brothers and sisters all around the city of Philadelphia. And I want to be that voice because oftentimes I hear that voice, they speak to me and they speak about their grievances with policing and the inequality in their communities and in our community. So I show up and I try to bring that information to these Town Watch Integrative Services meetings that I attend, to any other program that asks me to come out or my staff to come out and speak to the youth and the families about what is going on. But I believe in showing up because I can't do it alone. So I ask when individuals come to me in the community and they want to see change, I want them, just like all of you guys, to be a part of the change because we cannot do it alone. It takes a village. Okay, it takes a village, and there may have been hiccups. There's always growing pains for the former commissioners that were here prior to us, but I just hope that you guys give us a chance to be a positive change that we all want to see in the city of Philadelphia. Because like Councilman Jones said, you have your good things about police officers, and you have your bad things. I have a 24-year-old son, African-American son, and a beautiful daughter that's 17 years old that's walking these streets, that's in these neighborhoods. I'm talking to people. I am one of those individuals that you can come up to where you may not be able to go to Councilman Jones, okay? So I show up. I try to build that gap. I try to foster transparency with the police because oftentimes I meet with the police officers and I hear their cries and their stories of them trying to make a difference. So it's not always the negative about them, but it's about making a positive difference for the city of Philadelphia as a whole.
Thank you so much. I did not read all of the bios. They have very, very extensive bios with a lot of information. You were given a packet, so you can look over their bios if you'd like while you're thinking of questions. We're gonna open up for public comment, but I have a few instructions prior to doing so. We're gonna take public questions and comments. If you'd like to speak, please make sure to provide your name first and last. Also, if you are part of the media, please say so. For people in the room with us tonight who would like to speak, please raise your hand. A microphone will be brought to you. We thank you for your patience in advance. If you are online, please send a request to the meeting host and they will make sure that you're able to as well offer your time. Everyone will have 3 minutes, minute more. I will keep that time for you. Any documents or follow-up information or communications can be submitted you want to write it down if you want to, cpoc@phila.gov. We'll encourage you to provide feedback on tonight. Email the address promptly after tonight's meeting if you do have follow-up questions. Public comment should be limited to the topic that is at hand this evening, the candidacy of the commissioners and the candidates. If anyone is here and does disrupt the time here, we will ask that you be removed. We welcome all of your public comments and your feedback, but please know that we are at a time limit, so if we are unable to get to everyone's comments, questions, or concerns, you as well can send to that email address. I will open up the floor now for those who have comments.
Real quick.
Microphone back there. Remember your first and last name, please.
Hello, candidates. My name is Ron Hayes, from North Philadelphia. I decided to travel down here because it's very important for me to hear this. I just want to ask a question because our concepts is very important if we're in a position of authority like this. So, are you aware of broken windows theory, right? And broken windows theory, real quick, is just like when the neighborhood is destroyed, windows, trash, and all that. People have a tendency to act like that, right? That's a telemarketer. Right? But I also noticed in Camden, my friend, they did same thing in Camden, but they dropped crime rate 60% through community engagements. Like when they had rookies and so forth, they come in the community and they walk the beat, knock on the doors, and introduce themselves, right? Giving kids ice cream and so forth like that. That type of engagement, especially when I was a kid, we had respect for police. If I was a block away and they say, "Come here for a second," I would walk to them because they had that respect. So I would say, if I was a commissioner, I would try to make sure officers respect the uniform. And if you respect the uniform, people respect you. So the question is, how would you develop, thinking outside the box, how would you develop community engagement?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Ennis.
I think the most important thing about the community engagement is being among the people. Being able to relate to where they are and maybe understand some of the things that impact them. I like the initiative. I think it would be a great idea. We can call it the walk, not introduce legislation or bill, or we can just name it so that people can catch it. How do we engage the communities? We go to the high schools, we go to the colleges, we go to the churches, and we tell people that these options are available while we are living, moving, breathing examples of how they work. So maybe start on your block, walk, knock, and introduce yourself, and ask every neighbor to do the same thing until it's just a little. My father used to always say that you think little things don't make a difference, be in bed with a mosquito all night, right? So the little things go a long way, and I think it starts by demonstration. You engage by enacting, by being a part of what you want to see. Like my mother always says, I know you're going to hear a lot of that, be the example, not the sample.
Thank you. Same question, we'll give it to Mr. Gonzalez.
So the way I approached, I was a union member for 30-something years. I was president of my union. I was also co-chair of my union. One of the things, my union was a 70% white union, so they wanted to give back to the community. One of the projects that we did, that it's an idea that I'm going to propose to this group, is, again, simple steps, right? We start with an idea, and it may not be exactly what I'm saying, but we got to start somewhere. So how awesome would it be to have cadets or even police officers go into a school, give a kid his first book and read it with him, right? Because we got to plant the seed of coming together, police and community. Because right now, to be honest, I still get a little nervous around police when I'm in North Philly, right? I still I was driving around a couple of days and a cop was behind me and I thought, well, shit, he's following me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So anyway, I got nervous. I was like, because I'm so used to it. But anyway, so I just want to start with this committee, working on little things that don't cost a lot that we can do and plant that seed of building relationships between the police and the community. That was just the concept.
Thank you. Ms. Whitehead?
Well, being in these Town Watch Integrative Services meetings in the community and talking to police officers, there are police officers that already are adopting initiatives like coffee with the police officer at the local Wawa, because what is going on, and like I said, I'm boots on the ground. I show up at these meetings, so my ear is to the ground and I know what's going on. So what they're doing is, it was a school, and the meeting was at MLK, where neighborhood I grew up in, West Oak Lane. But, you know, these officers were trying to make a difference with the kids, the youth that go to the school, and there was problems in which Wawa wasn't having it. They did not like all of these teenagers after school being in that Wawa, that many youth being in the Wawa. So what they did was they said, we'll start coming out. The police officers will start coming out and building that relationship so that, the kids can feel comfortable. Listen, I got your back as a police officer. So I think it's really important to adopt it, not just in one area, to have those conversations all across the city of Philadelphia and have those meetings, not just with the youth. It does start at the bottom and goes on up, but the families knocking on the door and having those conversations. How can I help you? Because I think it's fear there. The fear is lack of trust, as it should be, because it's been a lot of things that's going on. I know me as an African American, I've experienced a lot of things growing up. So I think it takes just these small steps, like having a coffee with a police officer, whether it's youth, whether it's families, and just showing up and just building that trust and having that relationship and that cohesiveness, because we're all in it together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Finally, Ms. Rockman.
So the first part of your question, Mr. Hayes, is are you familiar with the broken windows theory? As a criminal justice practitioner, I do not have the luxury of not being familiar with it. I teach it to the effect that the students that come into my classroom, the people that I interact with, live in these neighborhoods where broken windows theory is alive and at work. The communities that they are in are not being cared for. The resources that they need to be stronger and to be better are unavailable to them. So to answer your question, how do I think that we can improve community engagement, is we start by education. Education is power. That's where the knowledge comes from, right? You have to know what the issues are and then how you yourself can benefit from the change. What do I need? And then how do I express what I need? Telling somebody the system is broken is not sufficient. I teach my students you have to be able to articulate and identify where it's broken so you can explain to people what you intend to do to change it. So if we are talking about change and effectuating change and how we do that from a community engagement standpoint, we start by educating and then we work on engagement. But you have to give people the knowledge first and then they have the power to believe that change is possible. Thank you so much.
Just making sure we have enough time, give everyone time. Anyone else in the room have a question? We'll go right here. Right here.
Good evening. So I had actually two questions, and I hope we can get them in. If not, oh, here you go. No worries. There.
I apologize, I'm sorry.
No worries, I'll make it quick. Hi, my name is Melissa Robbins, and I want to say thank you to all of you candidates, because over 10 years ago, I attend the Police Advisory Commission every single month all over the city, and it would be 6 or 7 of us in the room. This is before we had an ED, and before we had a budget, and before we made room for candidates. So you should all give yourself a round of applause, because we've come very, very far with oversight with our police. So my question to you is, it's difficult watching the horrific crimes committed against taxpayers by our own law enforcement officers. We're not gonna play around what we see each and every day played out in the streets against our family members at the hands of law enforcement officers. Amongst the ranks are good men and women who simply want to serve and protect like they're called to do. So my question to you is, what are your thoughts about accountability, true accountability? Because time and time again, we see people commit horrific crimes, they go through arbitration, before you know it, they're back on the job, or they're moved to a different state, right? So what are your thoughts about true accountability? And on the other side of it, let's talk about what redemption looks like when a good person makes a poor decision, but still has goodness in their heart and they are redeemable. Because we can't just throw all the babies out with the bathwater. So talk to me about accountability, true accountability, and redemption, what that looks like for you all as leaders. Thank you.
Melissa, I want to add to the accountability part.
You got it.
Accountability and consequences.
I like that.
Accountability and consequences, and then redemption.
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Whiteley.
Well, accountability, listen, all day, every day, I'm held accountable for what I do in a program, as a program manager, as a single parent, as a neighbor. I'm all about accountability, and I agree with you. There should be accountability in policing, and it's important. And that's why Councilman Jones and Ms. McCleary and the CPOC team worked so hard to try to, it was so many people that applied for this position as commissioner to find us. And so accountability. Accountability is important, and I know being here, I know I haven't seen a lot of accountability in regards to policing. I believe there needs to be a change as far as accountability is concerned. Redemption, I understand that people make mistakes, and I believe that we need training as a whole. We need transparency as a whole in policing. Whether it's, retraining, okay, education, like Ms. Malika said, there needs to be something so that individuals are held accountable, because we can't continue on going down this rabbit hole with the craziness. Okay, so I believe accountability is important, and we do have some onboarding to do to find out, to discuss the laws and different things like that. But accountability is important. We want to hold members of the police department accountable if they are not doing the right things in the community towards anyone that's in the community, because we all have a voice. And if police officers are in the community not doing what they need to do, then they should be held accountable. And so we need individuals like yourself and the rest of the city of Philadelphia to show up and let us know what is going on in the community, so that we can sit at the table and hold individuals that need to be held accountable for what they do. Now, do I not believe in redemption? We all make mistakes, okay? I feel as though there needs to be retraining and different things like that. It's not about just throwing people away, but you need to hold people accountable, not shift them around so they can go someplace and do the same thing over and over again. They need to be accountable for what they do. So whether it's retraining, whatever the case may be, then I am an advocate about, again, making some changes for the positivity for us all. But we need to have that conversation, and conversations like this is important so we can bring it to the table and figure out what we can do to make that change be positive for everyone.
Thank you. I'm gonna take one more answer from the commission, and then we're gonna take our break. And I'll give it to Mr. Gonzalez.
So on accountability, so there are a lot of moving parts to this. One is the FOP has a good contract, right? So that's one part. As a commission, and if I'm selected, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to look at this contract, right? We're going to look at it. What is accountability look like right now? What is progressive discipline look like right now? And what also the community, everyone here has to participate in this, because we have to know what you guys think, what you guys want, right? Because then we can take something, just again, this is one small part of many. That contract, when it comes up for the councilman mentioned it, they're up for negotiations. That's one part of that moving wheel that we need to figure it out, and where can we fix and change those policies that don't work for our people, right? Change those laws that don't work for us in our community and that protect bad people. As a former union member, I've negotiated contracts, and trust me, that's one part where we can really be impactful as far as accountability and what was the other thing? Redemption. Yeah, redemption. Yep. And the consequences too, right? Because that's again, a lot of moving parts, but as a commission, we all need to really do our due diligence and working with the community and look at that contract.
Thank you so much. So we will return back so that the other two can give their answers to that question as well. We're gonna break now. We have to return back here at 7:30 promptly. There are refreshments outside.
They're like a community workshop. Official weekend in the city. So we just did a project where we
She was actually really hard.
All right, it's 7:32. We want to get back on track so that we respect everyone's time. You can all take a seat. The beautiful young lady who gave us our last question is not in the room, but I do believe that it was accountability, pertained to accountability, consequences, and redemption as it pertains to the police. I'll start with you, Ms. Ennis.
The first thing that came to mind is what you don't correct, you repeat. So I think that kind of blends into accountability, right? Because we want to make sure that in terms of accountability, that we don't let our gifts, our positions, our titles take or keep us places. Our character cannot keep us. You have to have people around you that hold your feet to the ground, that say, hey, pull your coattail. You have to have people that are in your circle or your network that say, you gotta level up. This is how you can do better. And in closing, in terms of redemption, I always say, always be looking for ways to preserve the good in people. We're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. This may have been your first, it may be your second. My mother always said, you're gonna make mistakes, just don't make the same ones over and over again. But if you don't have the right people around you, you're not gonna be able to navigate. Again, policing the police, you can't do it yourself. You need someone to help you navigate that. Don't let your gifts, accountability, and your character take you, your gifts and talents take you places your character cannot keep you. Learn. Sometimes unlearning is harder than learning. We go into situations and we learned it a certain way, and here we go, what was the other one? Consequences. Let's go back and relearn it. Maybe we learned something a different way, for a different state, for a different time, for a different culture, for different people. What do we need to know now?
Thank you. I gave you a quick summation of your question, but if you'd like to ask it again, for our final candidate. Ms. Hoffman.
So my question was, with all that we've seen play out in everyday society, when you think about accountability, and my dear friend Rashawn added consequences, and then of course there's redemption, because these are people with feelings, have experiences, and not for nothing, take into consideration, a police officer only gets, and you can quote me on this if I'm incorrect, a police officer only gets a psychiatry or psychological eval if they discharge their weapon. Is that correct? Other than the initial onboarding into the police force, that is the only time. So just take into consideration, day after day after day, call after call after call, these people are seeing some of the most horrific things that most of us couldn't even take in one time. So that's why I say redemption is important, because these are human lives.
Absolutely. So first of all, I think that's a great question. The first thing I think is we need to define accountability and make sure that we understand what that word means. Because if we use a word to define a word, we lack its meaning. Accountability is responsibility, and it is responsibility that comes with consequence. When you hold somebody accountable, you are not just pointing out the wrong, but you are letting them know this is how you need to fix your behavior. If you do not fix your behavior, these are the consequences. Now, consequences are the result of your actions, whether it be good or bad. The assumption is always that we have to put the consequences on the negative. No, we need to make people responsible for their actions. When you put on any uniform, whether it's Rite Aid or the Philadelphia Police Department, the expectation is that when you show up to fulfill your duties. When you fulfill those duties, if you violate policy, then you are held accountable. The issue is not more training. The issue is that we need to unwrap the policy and put accountability in the policy. Because if accountability is in the policy and we have the authority to enforce the policy, then we get to enforce the accountability that comes with the consequences. And in the event that we need to revisit this for redemptive purposes, then we can do so with the proper authority. You violated the policy. This is your consequence. And in the event that you make the necessary changes, then we can have conversation about you revisiting this career. But until you do, we'd rather not have you. Yeah. All right, I saw a few other questions. And Grace, anyone? Okay, I want to go to you, but there was a woman, but she stepped out, and then I realized I didn't see her. She
I'm
moved.
pulling out my question. I was gonna go next, but that's fine. I can go now.
We want to give you a mic.
Let's get you a mic. And then just for purposes of you all knowing, I remember you being next, and then I'll go over to you. Okay.
Okay, good evening, and thank you for that response to the question Melissa posed. So I'm going to ask more so in regards to your relationship, because everyone's staying there in touch with the community, boots to the ground. From an educational standpoint, as a parent, so I initially, I love, the cookies and cake with the police officers or whatever they're doing. I think that's cute, right? But I'm talking about really having impact. And just because we're having cookies and cake with police officers, it does not mean that the relationship is truly there. There are many that I know. My family I have a family of law enforcement, okay? So when it comes down to education specifically, my question is, how would you ensure, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna read it as I wrote it. Given the prevalence of bullying and violence in public schools, what specific actions would you personally take to be the voice, okay, and collaborating between law enforcement, school administrators, and communities to address the issues that are there, holding both the individuals, those minor students, accountable, right, in respect to who they are, their age, and giving them the space to grow, but also where there is law enforcers who use their power to further. They don't protect who needs to be protected all the time. and even those students that probably need grooming, probably just need to grow, what is your voice there? You know, I think it's cute, you want the cops, you got police officers in the schools, you got Philly police officers, school district police officers, but what is your voice there? Because there's a lack of accountability with law enforcement in the educational school system that I am not happy with personally. And having children now, it moves beyond me saying that I'm happy about the cops coming in and sitting and taking cute pictures and reading the book. That's fine, but I read to my children. What are you doing to protect them when they're in school Monday through Friday and even on the weekends? Because what happens in school, it carries to the community. And here we see the shootings, here we see the fights, here we see the ongoing social media harassment. So what is your personal commitment and what is your voice there? And what would you say that you even have in mind now that you would do moving forward in this particular position?
Thank you. We'll start with Ms. Whitehead.
Okay, so as far as the bullying in the schools, and like you said, yes, it is cute. You know, having the coffee with the police officers and different things like that to support them so that they didn't get kicked out of Wawa. It was for the prevention because Wawa didn't want anything to do with them being in Wawa. So to prevent that, the police officers came to support the youth so that they were able to stay and, you know, purchase foods and snacks and different things like that. But as far as the bullying is concerned in the schools and the grievances in the schools, it does start with our children. I too am a parent. I have a son and a daughter. My son is grown now. I have a 17-year-old daughter who is still in public school in Philadelphia. And I see the problems and the issues. I hear the concerns, the bullying, just issues in the school. But I think there needs to continue to be these meetings with administration, with the parents, with the police officers. That's why these Town Watch Integrative Services meetings are important, and it should be open up to the community because I know when I go, there are only community administration there. I don't see the parents. We hear what is going on, but you don't see the parents and the guardians coming to these meetings and saying their grievances. So I would say inviting the community to the table to find out what is going on, giving that opportunity, giving the parents and the guardians and the youth a voice to be comfortable enough, to build that trust enough that they can come to the table with administrators and police officers to make that difference so that they feel supported. So I hope that, did that answer your question?
I was talking more so to that, I understand that perspective, but I'm saying in regard to holding them accountable, when you realize the administrators, the law enforcement is not doing what's necessary to protect said children.
Okay, so when administration and the police officers are not doing that, that is what we are here and what we've got chosen, hopefully, and can continue on to, and that will be chosen to do, is to oversee that and see what is going on. I hear what you're saying. We need, I think it's important to have these conversations. It's important to constantly show up to these community meetings to talk about the grievances so that we are able to take it to the table and figure out what we can do to make it better. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times people are talking to one another, but it's not getting to the right ears. Okay, so I think in times like this, when we are hearing out loud what is going on and the grievances as to going on, we can then sit at the table and find out how can we make this better, because it needs to be better. It's your children in the school, it's my children in the school, it's many of our children that are going to these schools that are hurting, that are in pain, that don't feel supported. So I think that if we do have these meetings and bring whatever is going on, we need to communicate and bring this information, not just wait for times like this, but it needs to be ongoing. So it's not to put the blame on anyone, but it's to find out, to get the information, to find out what is going on so that we then can bring it to the table to make a difference, to change what has not been happening, lack thereof.
Thank you, Ms. Whitehead. Council member would like to speak.
So what you are saying is so very timely. We have a 7 a.m. Monday morning.
Thank you.
What you said is so very timely. It's not their mission though, but it is mine. And every Monday morning at 7 a.m., I meet with most of the principals of my schools in the neighborhood. And it was designed to create what it is called safe corridors. So using the cameras, using the police, using the septic cops, using the school police to create a corridor of safety to get our kids to and from school. But what happened was, once we dealt with the primary issue, we started learning things we didn't want to know, like parent issues. Like, I didn't come to my kids' home and school meeting, but I came up to cuss out the teacher because she better not talk to my baby that way, kind of stuff,
Right.
and threatening teachers. So I would please be a part of what we're trying to do to work with the school district to make sure that parents and students and teachers are all safe. So we're working on that very issue. So my staff is gonna get your number and we're gonna invite you to our party.
Okay.
All right?
All right, in the essence of making sure that we respect everyone's time and those online, we're gonna continue to ask the questions, remember 3 minutes, and then if there are any follow-up questions, again, at the end, I'll repeat the email so that those can be submitted. I will now pass it to Mr. Gonzalez to answer the question.
To answer the young lady's question. So I do think that Councilman did answer a lot of your questions, because there's a lot to unpack there, right? You're talking about bullying, and one thing that my kids suffer from bullying too, and one of the things that happened is policy, right? The kid that was doing the bullying got one person assigned to him to work with him. Meanwhile, the rest of the class had, you got like 20 kids working with one person. So now this kid's being treated special. And I went and I said, like, yo, what's going on here? Like, he's getting special attention. He's the bully. My son and the other kids, it's like, what's happening here? So a lot of it within the school, it's policy, going through it. And then as far as the getting to school safe, I live in Kensington, so the safe corridor thing can work. I think they're working at it, and like one of the things was they wanted volunteers. That didn't work. I mean, you got to pay people to be out there. So I hope that they continue to address the safe corridors, because our kids should be able to go to school and come back home in safety. I mean, I'm 100%, and I don't know what our positions are, what our policies or capability is to help, but again, like whatever, you got the councilman with you.
Thank you so much. Let's see.
So my response is simple. The first thing I would think to do is just to be able to identify where the disconnects are. For me, it would be a research initiative. I would be looking to observe and to just ask questions and hear what people are thinking and feeling in a consensus. You're probably a really, really good mom. And so we just want to make sure that everybody is moving in that same direction. But for me, I would want to find out what's going on, see a little bit of it for myself, and kind of backtrack. What have we done? Take those things off the board and look through the lines, look through the markers to see what hasn't been done. That would be a starting point for me.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Rockman.
So, we do not oversee these school resource officers, so just for clarity, I think the first step would be to educate the process. What do you need to do? Who do you need to contact? And then, if you're able to walk the person through that, how do you make those connections? Because a lot of times we offer resources, but then don't follow through, right? We pass somebody off to a person whose name we found online without making a connection to see if there will be follow-through. So once you make the connection, to ensure that the person you're connecting them to has the ability and the capacity to assist. And then if such is not the case, then where do we go next? A lot of times what we can't do is because of what we don't know. The more we know, the more we can do. And it's not necessarily about us jumping in to fix every issue. It's understanding the issues exist and how can we help you to connect to the right people so the issues can be fixed.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Next question, I believe, was this young lady right here.
Hello, good evening. My name is Nefertari Rayner. I am an advocate for young adults or youth, whatever you want to call us. So I'm listening to everything you guys are saying. I'm taking everybody and everybody's thoughts and accountability, especially Miss, yes. I don't want to mispronounce your name,
It's
but
okay, Malika.
yes, Malika. I love everything that you're saying about the policies and everything. And like you said about holding people accountable, we have to look at the policies. Things weren't made in favor for our children and our people. So when you look back on these policies and these laws, and you look at the situations that happen, and I know people probably don't want to talk about it because it's very heavy, but these deaths, where we're getting shot in the street, people in wheelchairs, people who are unarmed, people where people don't know how to just de-escalate a situation, right? So if, for instance, I go out and I'm gonna come to a meeting like this with my fellow community, wrong place, wrong time, and I get shot by an officer, and you guys try to hold them accountable, right? And they say, I was in fear of my life, so I used deadly force. By law, they can get away with killing me. So how can you hold them accountable for something that's written in that book? Now, you do an investigation, right? You pull out your data analysis sheet. You report to the community. We advocate, we rally. I'm dead.
Right.
Somebody goes to jail, or I'm sorry, they get suspended, paid leave, right? And then they get let out. Or even if they do go to jail, they get pardoned. So now what? Now I'm dead. You tried. Let's move on. It sounds good what you guys are trying to do. And it's not your fault on how I feel or how we feel as a community. We're not, the trust level is not your fault. And it sounds beautiful, the mission. But how can you guys do anything to hold somebody taking my life or a peer's life accountable when somebody says and throw the book and say, I was in fear of my life by deadly force? Case closed.
Christina, if you don't mind.
I was gonna call you first.
Thank you.
So, thank you for your question. And thank you for your passion and your advocacy. So the first thing to answer your question is, it's not simply, I was in fear for my life. When you know the policy, you know how to interpret the policy. So your question is, how would I, in this role, hold them accountable? Because I know what the policy states, and I know how it is defined. So you cannot simply just say, I was in fear for my life. People fear for their lives all the time. There are other elements that are supposed to be included, but when you do not have insight to what the policy is supposed to do, you cannot hold them properly accountable. Because when a person of authority says, I was in fear for my life, and they throw the book at you, and you don't know how to interpret it, you can only go by what you know. You can't just say, I was in fear for my life. You have to be able to identify what was the immediate fear. Not I feared her because she was Black, not I feared her because he was a man, not I feared her because I thought. What did you see? What can you prove? And what can you say? Because if you can't prove it, you can't tell me how you felt. Feelings are not enough. But when you do not know, emotion always takes center stage. I felt fearful. But what did you fear? And as a result of what you feared, what did you do? And if you didn't do what you were supposed to do by policy, trust and believe, you're gonna have a problem.
Right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez, you go next.
So one thing that you said that resonated with me is that these laws, right, they're not made for us. These policies, they're not made for us. That's why that FOP contract is really important. That's why everyone here needs to really work with this committee and council to change those policies and those laws that protect those bad people. Because again, those laws were not designed by people like us.
Thank you so much. Ms. Whitehead?
I agree, excuse me. I agree, they're not designed like, any of us that sits here. So what we need to do is go to the council members like Councilman Jones and have these conversations so that that information is put into the policy as to what do you do. If you felt unsafe, like Malika said, why? What is it? Because I hear oftentimes people react on emotions instead of what is policy, what am I supposed to do, and training that they had. So I was afraid, but why? What happened? And if you did not follow protocol at that point in time, then we are here to hold you accountable. Point blank, period. We're not about emotions. A lot of us go through different emotions all day, every day. I'm going through emotions right now. Okay? Going through emotions right now. It's about what did you do to, in the midst of the storm? What did you do? Did you make the right call? We are human beings. We all make mistakes. But if you made the wrong one at that time and place, and unfortunately unalived a young woman, then you will be held accountable. We will make sure you are held accountable. Because I know I'm held accountable in things that I do. So I believe that the police officers and policy, law enforcement needs to be held accountable as well. Not pushed over to the side, not taken down, not moved to another department, not someplace else in another state. You're going to be held accountable because you acted on emotions. Unless you can prove to me that you acted in policy of what you were trained to do, then you will be held accountable.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Hennis.
Well, as a member of a team, it's really important to remember who has the ball. And in this case, I would just be championing each of them and the ideas that they've already put out. That's enough substance, and it's enough to just move forward. So I would be in support of these ideas because they're great. Why reinvent the wheel? Let's go with what we have, and we'll build, and everyone can use their strength when the moment arises. But right now, I don't have the ball.
Come on.
I just wanted to also just take this moment to let people know about this question, is that before us, nobody was at the scene. I'm sorry. We actually go to the scene of every shooting. We get the same phone call that the police commissioner gets, and we are out there watching the investigation unfold. It doesn't answer your question about being unalive, but we're going to be there when it starts to make sure that this investigation has integrity. And I want people to know that, because I don't know. So whether my phone rings at 3 in the afternoon or 3 in the morning, we are heading out there. We are watching PPD from the beginning when they try to put these pieces together at an officer-involved shooting.
Yes.
For instance of time, can I see a hand for how many people more have questions? Okay, we have 6. We're going to go to a question that's online right now, just because it's been there since before our break, but it actually pertains to the discussion we're having now.
So this question comes from Isaac from Axios, who's a reporter. The question reads, CPOC doesn't have the right to conduct independent investigations into police officers. That's being bargained on right now, but CPOC doesn't have a seat at the negotiation table. What role can prospective commissioners play in ensuring CPOC gets the right to conduct independent investigations?
We'll start with you, Ms. Rothman.
I think the role that all of us can play is to support the commission in its endeavors to ensure that they get the power that is necessary to be able to conduct those independent investigations.
Thank you. Ms. Whitehead?
I agree. I believe that we need to support the Congress that are trying to implement these initiatives, and yeah, as long as we support them, then it will be a move in the right direction.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Well, what was the question again? So we don't have.
CPOC doesn't have the right to do independent investigations, and it's being bargained right now. How can you, as a prospective commissioner, play a role to ensure that CPOC gets the right to conduct independent investigations?
Gotcha. Well, I agree with what these folks just said. I also, when I mentioned negotiations, I keep talking about policy negotiations. So that's where all of us need to call our council people and support them to push the policies that we need.
I think that, the wheels may already be in motion, and all we are just pretty much looking to do is get on that boat and ride it and do our part.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll go back into the questions. I remember I let that young lady right back there. She was the next one.
Hi, I actually just popped in.
What's your name?
My name is Elise, I'm sorry. How you doing?
My name is Elise, I just popped in. I wanted to know, African American women and Latino population have the highest rates of domestic violence in the city. The murder rates are through the roof. And I wanted to know how you will assist the police to take PFAs, even reports, even calls in very dire situations.
You're looking, you wanna answer
I
first?
know,
Go
I was
ahead.
just trying to see how you report to it, that's all.
Ms. Bucky, you
It's
go
hard for me
first.
to see you, that's all.
You can go first.
So I actually am an emergency protection from abuse order clerk. So I understand the process. And a lot of what people don't know about the process is what they don't know, right? Educating people on how the process works and the steps that they need to take is essential. And then the other piece to that is making sure that when the police get the order, because police don't issue PFAs, right? The courts do. And what happens is people say, the police sent me here and told me to get this, but the police don't do an assessment. They only refer. So the role is to ensure, and what I've had the privilege of doing that I know other people do not, is utilizing my resources to ensure that I's are dotted and T's are crossed on behalf of those who need help. I take the time to explain to people the process when I'm issuing an order, how it works, what they need to do, where they need to go. If they happen to go to a district and they don't know who to talk to, who the victim's assistant officer is in that space. So I think the essence is, and I have a unique level of experience, so I'm not going to expect other people to do the same thing, but it also is essential to utilize the resources you do have. We all have the ability to pick up a phone. Who is your victim's assistance officer? How can we ensure that the people who are getting these orders know what to do when they get them? Because absent of authority, a piece of paper is literally just a piece of paper.
I appreciate that answer. Ms. Whitehead.
I agree with what Ms. Malika said. I don't have that experience like she does in that, but I believe in picking up the phone and making phone calls and building connections. And if I do have the resources, if I don't, I will make the phone calls to find the individuals to help these young sisters, Black and brown women that are being abused in the city, all across the city. So if it's not in my power, I will make sure that I connect those individuals with the proper resources and individuals that can assist them in making sure they are taken care of as quick as humanly possible. So that, because we all don't have the answers. We don't. We everyone doesn't have the answers, and I do have some connections. So I would pretty much make that phone call and make sure individuals are linked up with the proper people to help them.
And I actually had to advocate for a friend of mine, for this detective to even report it. I literally argued him down for 2 hours
To make sure that he just didn't pass off her concerns, which is escalating.
Right.
So how writing letters, talking to sergeants, talking to lieutenants, and it's just such a huge disconnect. How do we hold individual police officers that don't even want to make a report? How do we hold them accountable for that? It's very serious.
I want to give the last two an opportunity to answer, but
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. Mr. Gonzalez?
So, I really don't know enough about that topic. But I can tell you that I have a lot of questions. And I think this is where the commission can support is, for example, when there is domestic violence, I want to know why is it that the police leave? And then the bad things happen. Why? That's just to start with, because we've seen it far too many times. So, again, as a commission group, we can ask those tough questions.
Thank you. Finally, Ms. Ennis.
I think it's powerful that you were going back and forth with a person like that, trying to help them navigate, but I also think it's an open door, because now you know that you can come to CPOC and we can help you get to the resources and get the resources. You can get a little more guidance around those guidelines, but I think that's powerful. But this is how we reach and touch these questions that are broader than the scope of the moment that we're in. Everybody in here now knows you can come to us and we're gonna give it our best shot. We're gonna try to figure it out with you. If we know, we're gonna tell you. If we don't know, we'll figure it out together. But this is where I think it really all begins. So I thank you for your courage in that.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say really quickly, I really appreciate this question because I don't know that people know, you can file complaints with CPOC. You don't have to just file them with the police department. When you file them with us, we will follow up on them, and we even accompany you if need be to the interview where they're talking about your complaint. What we also do is we track patterns. So if we start to see these patterns, if we start to get with community members like you that say, the last 10 calls, nothing happened, we want to track those patterns. Because we have the ability, you have to remember, we have a different entree into the police department than just a member of the community. And so we look at their policies to track it, to say, we noticed that on the last 10 calls, nothing happened. Talk to us about why that is. And we also go to the academy and we also critique their training. Because how are officers being trained? Do they have enough training to be able to feel like they can do something effective in these type of situations? So please always think about CPOC. Think about us first a lot of times. Your only entree to getting some kind of answers is not the police department. Come to us, talk to us, and let us see if we can figure out a way to get to the bottom and get what it is that you need.
I believe we have 5 remaining questions, so I'm gonna do my best to get to everyone so that we can make sure that we're respecting everyone in the room's time. I'll start with the gentleman right here with the mask.
Hello everyone, my name is Brandon Lang. First of all, thank you to the candidates for their time today. My question is, speaking to the previous point about independent investigations, should that power be won and given to CPOC, how would you as commissioners use that independent investigative power to further the mission of CPOC? Thank you.
I'll start with Ms. Ennis.
I think it's important to remember to be fair and objective and to follow the structure that's in front of you. I think when we look at that concept of just investigating or policing, we want to be certain that we're in the wheelhouse, we're in the rhythm, the flow, the cadence of what we're trying to accomplish. I think following the policies on that is really, really important. And as we navigate through it, we may find other ways to be more adaptive and fluid to accomplish the goals that are set in front of us. But I think it really requires us to be really well learned and informed about what is happening, what's supposed to happen, and what we would desire to happen.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yeah, in that same thread, right, when we do get those powers, and I didn't sit down and create that initiative or the policies that govern that, but I want to take a look at it. And I want to make sure that once we have those powers, are they working, right? And if they're not working, then we need to change them, right? But right now, that's the extent of what I can say. When we get those powers, we do investigations. Does it work? If it doesn't work, then as a group and as a community, we have to say it's not working.
Thank you, Ms. Whitehead.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think, I know we definitely would have to look at the policies and see what is going on, what is working, what is not working, and what we can do to make things better. And that's only if we do get, access to this. But we need to look and to evaluate and to see what is going on. Where is where are the pros and the cons, and what are some things that we can do? What are some things that need to be changed? And us as a group and as a committee and as an oversight committee will be able to work together, bring it to the table, see what is working, see what is not working, with you guys buy-in, with you guys also showing up to these meetings, because we can't do it alone. Nobody can do it alone. So we always need the voice of the community to also be at the table, to meet us at the table, to give us the information, to let us know what is not working for you so that we can assist.
Thank you. Ms. Martin.
Two words that I think are very important in that process is objectivity and making sure that we keep and maintain our integrity. If that power is given to the commission, being objective and being integrous are going to be two main key points for us to be able to navigate that power correctly. We can't be abusing our power while we're investigating people for abusing theirs, right? So understanding what that power gives you the authority to do and doing that with integrity is not only how we get the power, but how we maintain it. Because when people give you power and authority, the first thing that they want to do is measure how you're using it, right? So if we're fighting to get it, why not fight to keep it? So that's what I think is important.
Thank you so much. We have 4 more questions, so I'm gonna finish with the 2 gentlemen in the back, and we have 2 more right here. In the interest of time, what I'm gonna do with these final 4 questions is, if whoever feels that they would like to answer the question, we'll do that, just so that we can make sure that we get everyone's questions.
Hey y'all, my name is Sergio Sea. I'm one of the defendants with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund for police abuse and violence in 52nd Street following the 2020 uprisings in response to the murders of George Floyd and Walter Wallace. I would just like to say, without real police accountability, no amount of cake, coffee, haircuts, or basketball with police is going to stop them from shooting rubber bullets and tear gas at me in a residential neighborhood on my bike from armored vehicles. So my question is, how do you think local police departments should prosecute and treat activist protests and political demonstrations in the city? And a follow-up, just because we are in CCP in West Philadelphia, we're an area where a lot of college campus districts overlap with the police district. What role should the police have in coordinating with campus police when they ask them to come and disrupt activists and protests on campus? Thank you.
I'll give it to the panel. Feels good. There's no question.
I'll answer it.
Sit on that.
I'll do it. So one is, if you want to get a permit to close a street or have a parade, it's not that difficult, right? But when you want to protest for something, then things get complicated. So I think, I don't know what the policies are that allow the police to shoot rubber bullets at people. I don't know what the policies are that allow them to do what they did on that, what's that, underpass, Cowell Hill, when they were pulling the mask down and spraying that poor girl. It is the right for all of us to protest, right? I mean, we should not be fearing the police. They should actually be protecting us. So I think that's something that I definitely want to learn more about what gives them that power to do that and get away with it. Because I don't even think anybody's been prosecuted for spraying the people in the face. I don't think, that's a problem, right? That's a huge problem. That's actually something that we should definitely address as a committee, and because everyone should have the right to protest and disagree with government.
Absolutely. Anyone else like to answer this question?
Sure. Because I know everybody's like, is she gonna say that? So I want to add, if you don't mind, I'd like to, because the question is very huge, but I think the last part of your question is really impactful, where you asked the question about how you think that they should prosecute people who do not allow individuals to peacefully protest, and then in turn misabuse and misuse their authority and their power against those individuals. So the first thing I think is that we have to acknowledge the fact that just because the policy exists doesn't mean that people obey the policy when it's time to. Right. When the pressure is on and the heat is up and feelings and emotions are rising, people don't think about the policy. They think about what's in front of them. And what's in front of them is power. So how do I use my power to force somebody to do what I want them to do? And what I want them to do is stop doing what they're doing that's against me. So I think the first step to that is that we have to understand what our power is to make sure that people who have power know how to wield that power. And when that power is abused, to address it head on. You can't be afraid to call people out when they misuse their power. And it's not just about making noise and screaming and yelling. It's about ensuring that when accountability is handed out, that it's handed out right. So if you have the authority to hold them accountable, then we hold them accountable and don't fold when the pressure comes. Because there's going to be pressure. There are contracts, there are unions, but the reality is, and if you're wrong, you're wrong.
Right.
And you can't make it right no matter what you put on the piece of paper. If fear is the only factor that's driving you when you're in your uniform, then we have a problem. Because you're not equipped to be in that uniform. If fear is the only thing that makes you shoot a person who's riding on their bike with rubber bullets, that is a problem. The question is not what do we do to prosecute, because we are not prosecutors and neither do the police prosecute. What we do is hold you accountable when you misstep and choose to prosecute somebody in the street and not allow the court system or the other people to do what is necessary. If you step outside your role, that's where we come in. So that's the answer to your question, and I hope that answers to the ability that you're looking for. Thank you so much.
Can I comment one more thing? I think Tanya mentioned the academy also, because there's a culture, right? There's a culture in the police department of that kind of behavior is accepted. You know, again, connecting the dots, low hanging fruit at the academy before, when these guys come in, before they commit, you know, say the oath to becoming a police officer, they need to understand what that means. That means protect and serve, right? And we need to be part of that training. We need to figure out at that level, how can we impact these young people that are going to be protecting us, right? So I think the academy is another good opportunity for us to be impactful.
Thank you. There was one more at the table.
Just a point of information to Mr. Gilberto's point is that CPOC is embedded in the curriculum. Before any recruit class graduates, they have a 2-hour class in oversight from CPOC. So we are embedded into the academy system.
Very good.
The gentleman in the back.
Hello, thank you all for being here today, and thank you for taking my question. My name is Cesar. I am very worried right now, especially with the current fascist administration, about their attacks on very vulnerable communities in our country and in our city, particularly the immigrant community and the trans community. Both these communities also face a disproportionate amount of harassment from police officers in our city. So my question is, how can commissioners support these vulnerable communities when they reach out about police brutality? And what role does the Philadelphia Police Department have to play, if any, when federal law enforcement or, for example, ICE, ask for assistance in targeting and going after these communities? Thank you so much.
I'll open it up to you all if you'd like to answer the question, or which one of you would like.
I'll jump in here again. That's a lot of questions wrapped in there. I think definitely, like I said earlier, every citizen needs to be protected. I think that every single police officer graduating and working needs to understand what protect and serve means, right? And the other thing, I keep mentioning this, is the contract. You guys need to realize when there's a contract, that's a legal binding document that is law. And those policies, not policies, but those laws, that's how we can start, hopefully, change things. And all of us need to advocate for those kind of changes. All of us need to reach to our political leaders and say, look, this is a good idea. This is what we want to protect the transgender community, to protect the immigrant community. Because right now, to be honest, what's going on with the immigrant community is so disheartening for me. I have no answer for that. But we need to figure it out. We need to talk about it as a committee, and we need to bring the community in because you guys are on the front line.
Anyone else on the panel would like to answer the question? Okay, let's move up to the question right here.
My name is Sylvia Metzler. Thank you all for being here and taking a lot of hard questions. I'm a member of a group called Live Free, and we were very responsible for helping to bring about CPOC. And I'm wondering, CPOC has two parts. There's you, the commissioners, and then there's the staff. There's an executive director and a large staff. What do you see as your role? What's the role of the staff, and how do you work together?
So since I haven't been elected yet, and, you know, I'm still learning, that's part of what I want to learn. I want to learn what is my role exactly? And then I think once I learn what my role is completely, then I can push back and say, no, you know what, I think we also need to do this. So it's going to be a learning process. So please be patient with me, be patient with us, because we're going to learn and we're going to push hard, because we got to get, these people are strong people up here.
Good. I agree with what Gilberto said. We have some learning to do, and we have a lot of learning to do. We are not here to come in as alphas and omegas to try to take over anything. We are about cohesiveness and working together and supporting the work, the good work and the hard work that CPOC is already doing, boots on the ground. So in that, with the training that we're going to get afterwards, if we are chosen, that the select panel is chosen, then I know, and I'm sure all of these wonderful, beautiful people that's up on this stage is about working together for the better good of the entire city that all of us live in. No matter what part, what section, wherever you at, it's about working together. Because they're already doing the work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We're here to oversee, but we're also here to support and work together. What are you doing? How can we work together for the better good of the community?
Thank you so much. Sylvia's giving me the eye, so I'm just, she like, so, so I'll just say two words, Ms. Sylvia, to support and serve, to support the staff in the execution of their duties, and to serve the community in the execution of ours.
And I would concur. I would simply say that they are dependent on one another. How does one exist without the other and thrive? And how does one exist without the other and survive?
Thank you. So we have one last question, but a reminder to all, after this question, we are going to close out with a few words. But if there are other questions that you may have thought of during this time or even after, please ensure to send to cpoc@phila.gov. You can also call 215-685-0891. Just a reminder for those who are here and online who may not have had the opportunity to have questions today.
Appreciate it. Reverend Mark Tyler, also a member of Live Free, and Sylvia asked my question. So let me, no, seriously, I want to say a few things first, because I was on the first selection panel as well. And I want to thank Councilmember Curtis Jones, who heads the Public Safety Committee, because he is, somebody used the word champion earlier. This is not easy. Police oversight has not been easy or effective in many places in this country, and that's by design. And so to have an elected official who has a story of his own, I came in late, you may have talked about your daughter, but I know that story. But that's, you know, that I know what drives you with this. And so I think we can't take for granted his effort, and then the effort of many of the people on city council who, it was easy to do this in 2020 because the city was literally on fire. It's a different climate now. And so when shootings go up and 600 people a year killed, all of a sudden oversight is not sexy anymore, and they continue to stay supportive of this effort. So thank you. Can we just, I mean, thank your staff. And I also want to thank the members of the CPOC, the remaining members who made it from the first 9. Wow. And they will tell you that it has not been easy, that there have been landmines and traps and other things set before them to make this go away. The staff works each and every day at this. And to just demonstrate how difficult oversight is, consider this. The Inquirer just reported that of the people who are fired by Commissioner Bethel, once he has said, and he and other police officers say, you are so terrible, you should not be an officer. 85% through arbitration get their job back with pay. Now, that's not community saying we think you're terrible. That's peer-to-peer. Cops with that blue wall and everything else, that when they finally get fed up with you, 85% come back through the door. That is, I mean, there's no other profession that gets the benefit of the doubt in that way. And so the problems that we're facing really go back to what this young lady talked about the fact that people can kill people on camera often and still get their jobs back. There is a movement now to get Trump to pardon the federal charges against Derek Chauvin. Who in the world would ever want to pardon Derek Chauvin? And so this is the state that we're in. And so I guess for me and for you all, if this is a question or I want to know what kind of soul searching you have done about what being on this commission means. There are other people who are going to do all the day-to-day questions people ask. That's what Executive Director McClary and her staff does. But you will be the wall between them and all the political forces out there that don't want them to succeed. And so have you taken account, I mean, if you've not read the legislation, please do so. Because I'm hearing a lot today that says people have not, you all, it's on the website, everybody. Read the legislation. It's very clear about what this commission is supposed to do. And once you read it, I just want to know your commitment to staying in here for us, because we need this to succeed. Every city that Live Free talked to, and we held public town halls where this legislation said that it takes about 4 or 5 iterations of this to work. The PAC was iteration 1.0. The last 4 years was 2.0. Now we're going into a new phase, 3.0. And this won't get it right because we still have the contract that they won't resolve in this next phase. So there is a lot that is at stake. So what are you willing to do? And what is your level of commitment to this process and to all of us to keep us safe?
Thank you.
That was a question for them.
So I'll go first. So one is, my commitment is to work with this team, right? This is the team right here, right? If I'm elected to work with this team, that's number one, because we can't get anywhere alone. Number two is, I think we got a group here that is fearless, right? We're not gonna be complacent. We're gonna ask those tough questions. I'm gonna ask them, because if we're not asking those tough questions, then we're not moving the bar. We're not improving things for our community. And sometimes, like in, Philly culture, everybody's kind of complacent. Oh, you don't want to rock the boat too much. Well, I think we need to rock that boat.
There's a quote that comes to mind for me. People may forget what you say. They may even forget what you do, but people never forget how you make them feel. And I don't mean in the sense of emotion, but I do mean in the sense of commitment. And so when I think about that, I think about how to stay relatable, how to stay reachable, how to stay teachable, and how to stay touchable. You have to be able to permeate all of the areas that you're in, but how you interact with people, sometimes they don't even know you. They may just see you and say, this is how that made me feel. Not in terms of, again, an emotion, but a commitment that's unparalleled through your demonstration. I think I said it earlier. My mother used to always say, be the example and not the sample. Everybody tries the sample, but nobody buys it. You gotta stick it out and you have to make it work. And we have so many examples of people that have gone before us that have done a whole lot more with a whole lot less. Well, guess what? Now it's our turn and it's our time.
I agree. It is time to show up like never before. These wonderful 4 commissioners that have already put in the work, already have tons of things that have been on their back and they have been along for a while. We are here to help them and support them, to try to learn from them. And hopefully they can learn something from us so we can see the change that we all want to see, the positive change in the city of Philadelphia, so that everyone feels as though their voice is heard and things are handled and there is accountability all across the city of Philadelphia in law enforcement. So as far as commitment is concerned, I spoke with these wonderful people. I also interacted with the members, existing commissioners that are on there, and I see the work that they spoke about the work that they put in, and it's not easy, and it's not going to be easy. But with your support and with you giving us a chance, allow us to show you. I say to my children, I can show you better than I can tell you. So I want for all of you guys to give us a chance to show you, because we've said a lot today, but you need to see the actions. So I ask you to give us the chance to walk it like we are talking it here.
Thank you. I should have known Reverend Tyler before they did this. But to that question, I would say, no greater love than a man has that he would lay down his life for his friends. So you asked about the level of commitment. It is the commitment to be uncomfortable. It is the commitment to show up and put yourself in the space for the people who cannot put themselves in the space that they need to be in, that they want to be in, to be the voice in the room. And to the commissioners who have sat in the space for 9 people, that is not easy to carry the weight. So when you ask us about our commitment to show up, it's not just for the community in this room, but it's for our co-commissioners who have been standing in the gap until we got there. So when people hold the line for you, you owe them the ability to show up and hold the line for them. Because carrying the weight of 9 people is not easy, but carrying the weight of 9 people for a city and for several communities is not easy. So when we show up, we don't show up for the title, we don't show up for the position, we don't show up for the power, we show up for the ability to effectuate change and stand on the line for people who stood on the line for us.
That was the final question that we were taking. We are going to close out with Ms. McCleary, but I want to thank all of you for your very honest and transparent answers, and thank you all for your questions.
So can I just ask, is there an opportunity? I thought there was going to be an opportunity for comments. Can we give those comments on that same email address?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So let's give Ms. Vega another hand. I'm giving this side of the room a look because they got more work to now do. I don't know how many of you might have come in later online, but as you heard, unfortunately, Mr. Meekins, one of the nominees, withdrew his candidacy today. So we still have one more spot to fill. So I just want to give people the next steps on that. So this selection panel will reconvene again to see if they can come up with an additional name of someone to nominate. And you as the community will have a chance to ask that person questions. So do not feel like that will happen. Probably just for the sake of expediency, it'll probably be an online form, but if they are able to come forward with the name, the community will have a chance to speak with that person. So those of you that follow us on all kinds of things, social media, website, we will, once the selection panel is able to reconvene themselves, and if they're able to bring forth another name, we will make sure that the word goes out so that people can tune in and ask questions of that candidate. And also you can sign up on the table here for our mailing list, and then you'll definitely get it. So sign up for our mailing list, but I just want people to be assured that if another name does come forward, you will have an opportunity as a community to ask questions. And so we have to be out of the building by 9, but there is a chance for people to mingle. We're gonna mingle, and we might be cleaning up, but there's more food out there, more drink. So we want you to meet these candidates. But also I'm excited, the reason we wanted our commission that currently here, because many of you have never met them because their meetings are online. So take the time to meet the 4 current commissioners, because they are here as well. And so we are going to close this out, I think, fittingly, with the chair of the commission to come forward and give us our closing remarks, and then we will move out and mingle until about 5 and then we'll show you guys some more to do.
Thank you all for showing up. I need a little bit of help pronouncing some things. I'm from Philadelphia, product of the public school system, so I had a problem with pronouncing public safety, right? So when I point to y'all, I want you to say, help me with it, right? So let me get it. First, I'll just start with my city commissioners.
Public.
No, public safety.
Oh, public safety.
Public safety, okay. I'll start with my candidates.
Public safety.
All right, now I'll start with everybody.
Public safety.
Oversight is
public safety.
Oversight is
public safety.
Now you see how it sounds different when we all come together. That's what oversight is. Oversight is not only commissioners. Oversight is not only staff. Oversight is not just the community and its fellow neighboring partners. Oversight is all of us. Oversight is your question as well as your question. Now, what I'm understanding is we have a history in oversight. Philadelphia was one of the first cities with, maybe the first city with a government review board, right? We thank it to Mayor Dilworth. But also, he was pushed by Cecil B. Moore and Reverend Sullivan.
Yeah.
So we got some roots in this oversight business that we in, you hear me? So when commissioners, I'm gonna call you commissioners now because I like you. I like it, but it's some work that needs to be done. We gotta listen, we gotta work together. We don't make decisions just simply, right? We listen to the community and we come together and we make a vote and we decide how to strategically move forward, right? We learn from their code. It's 2 different sides. It's legislation and oversight. Our goal right now was to bring that oversight that legislation into reality. Let me rewind. I told you I'm from the public school system. It's reality and then it's legislation. Our hurdles is making that legislation reality. And with 4 of you now, we're closer to it. We've been hobbled for a long time. Am I right, my fellow commissioners? Yes. We're gonna see attacks. We're gonna get attacked over and over and over. Right? You're gonna want to speak out. I'm telling you. Come together with the commissioners. The commissioners gonna come together with the staff, and we're gonna move forward. You're gonna receive attacks from all over. Everybody don't want to see oversight work, but you see these people. All these people in this crowd want to see oversight work. People from West Philly want to see oversight work. I'm a 19th district representative. You all know. People from South Philly want to see oversight work. People from Southwest want to see oversight work. People as far up as Northeast want to see oversight work. North Philly definitely want to see oversight work. Germantown want to see oversight work. And it is our obligation to take that mud on our face, wipe it off, and keep hitting the ground. Ain't no quitters in this business. Quitters don't look good in this business. Am I right? We don't look good, quitters. You may not look good in this business, but you know what your heart leads you, right? We fought. We advocated, I'm not gonna say fought, we advocated for the onboarding process to be strong, right? The onboarding process on what oversight looks like. And that's not only in Philadelphia, we got this thing called the National Alliance of Civilian Oversight through Law Enforcement, and it's every state, and it's in the United States of America where the oversight come together. You're gonna learn from them as well. We're a family here. We may not agree all the time. We may not disagree all the time, but we are a family with the same agenda. So I'm letting you know now, if you got public aspirations of being a political figure, this may kill it. This may kill it. You may be done. You may be done. I'm telling you, you may be done. So just make sure your heart is in this. Make sure your heart is in this, because when the objective of stepping in as a commissioner is leaving the commission better than it was when you walked in. And I thank you. Where Ms. Beck at? I thank you too. I thank you too, Councilman Jones. I thank you too. We've been through the mud these last 7 years. I thank you. I appreciate you. You're the only person from Dallas I like, you know that, right? You're the only Dallas representative I like. Get familiar with the staff. Get familiar with our executive director, Tanya McClary, right? We do this thing on this commission called positive gatekeeping, where we make sure the flows of communication is open. Everybody has the information. We live by the criminal justice system law, where it says no decision can be made without it being voluntary, willingly, and intelligently made. So to do that, I got to make sure you know everything. Sometimes I may stay up on the phone with you until like 11 o'clock just to make sure you're good. But that's the dedication. That's the dedication of the commissioners, to make sure you understand. We're going to be all right. We're going to get some mud in our face, but it's all right. It's all right. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. We have meetings every second Thursday and fourth Thursday of the month. Just like you guys showed up in this meeting, I would love to see you. I'm talking about love to see you show this same compassion and understanding at these meetings. Ask these same questions, because we're going to teach you something. We're going to learn something. I think Reverend Mark Tyler spoke about a newspaper article, right? Ms. Tanya, who came up with that data? CPOC came up with that data. Let's get it right. So we putting in the work, right? And we pushing the needle. And to push the needle, we need everybody. We need to expand our notoriety in the city of Philadelphia. What was not told is when protests happen, CPOC has somebody on the scene, right? Over these last couple months, I realized it ain't just protests. CPOC need to have people on the scene. It would have been amazing to have people on the scene for that Super Bowl parade. For that Super Bowl win celebration. It would have been amazing to have CPOC on the scene, because CPOC is CPOC is public safety. You understand what I'm saying? We coming up on 2026. CPOC gotta be full-fledged, full force. We need your help. It's not just us, it's not just the staff. We need your help, because CPOC is public safety. All right? Thank you all for attending. Thank you all for your application. Thank you all for asking questions on the fly, but we don't do that here. We come together strategically and we make a strategic decision how to move forward. Malika! We done hit the streets. I'm happy to see you here. Right? I'm happy to see all of you here. Councilman Jones, we gotta get him on the commission.
Ball's in my court.
Yeah, it's in your court. No, look. All right, thank you all for attending tonight. We'll be out in the hallway if you need us. We need you.
So please come up and meet the candidates and the current commissioner while we start to clean up. And thank you for coming.